The smell of roast meat filled the air, reminding Anna of what she didn't have. Aunt Lucia's house was so big that the sound of cutlery echoed, mingling with the loud laughter of her cousins and the clinking of crystal glasses. Everything was impeccable. The linen tablecloth, the hanging chandelier, the fresh flower arrangements. Everything except the feeling of belonging. Anna sat at the end of the table like a forgotten prop. Her simple dress, bought at a thrift store, clashed with the expensive clothes around her. She tried to smile, but the lump in her throat wouldn't let her. "So, Anna," said Aunt Lucia, pouring herself wine with forced delicacy. "Still working at that bakery? It must be exhausting to get up early to serve coffee to strangers." Her cousins laughed. Anna lowered her eyes. "It is tiring, yes, Auntie. But it's honest work." Lucia raised an eyebrow. "Honest work is good, but it's also good to have ambition, don't you think?" Anna wanted to say that ambition doesn't fill your stomach when you're behind on rent. She wanted to say that value isn't measured by how much you have. But she remained silent. She learned early on that in that house, any word coming from her would be interpreted as insolence. Her grandfather cleared his throat, trying to break the awkwardness. "The important thing is that we're together today," he said, his voice breaking. "A family together is a blessing." Anna smiled at him. And in that small gesture, she clung to the only thing that still made it worthwhile to be there, the love her grandfather had always given her. As the conversation continued and the glasses were raised, she felt tears threatening to escape. And she thought with a heavy heart, why does love have to hurt so much for those who have the least? That night Anna walked home slowly. The street lights reflected in the puddles, and each step seemed to echo the loneliness that lived inside her. The simple room where she lived was small but clean. A worn mattress, a makeshift table with stacks of notebooks and bills, and a kettle that whistled slowly. She sat on the bed and took off her shoes. Her feet hurt, her body was tired, but what really hurt was the memory of her aunt's cold, sharp voice. She picked up her notebook and scribbled something to take her mind off things. It was a habit, writing down her grandfather's sayings, things she had heard in her life, dreams she pretended she still had. On today's page she wrote, "Some people are born with gold, others with a heart. Only one of these things saves." Her weekly salary was barely enough for the basics. The food in the fridge consisted of a pot of rice and a half-wilted apple. But even so, before going to sleep, she set aside a piece of bread and put it in a bag. Tomorrow she would visit her grandfather. He liked fresh bread with strong coffee. She rested her head on the pillow and cried softly, trying not to wake the neighbors. It wasn't fleeting sadness. It was the accumulated weight of years of trying to be enough in a world that only saw her as leftover. Before falling asleep, she murmured a short prayer. "God, give me the strength to continue without hardening my heart." Anna had always been the other one, the poor niece, the one who inherited broken toys and old clothes. Lucia liked to say she felt sorry for her, but her aunt's pity was a gift wrapped in shame. As a child, Anna quickly learned not to ask for anything. When her cousins went to the beach on vacation, she stayed at the neighbor's house, helping to take care of the children. When they had birthday parties, she was invited only at the last minute, more out of politeness than affection, and worst of all, she grew up thinking she deserved little. One day, while still a teenager, she overheard a conversation between her aunt and a friend. "That girl only comes to me because she wants something. But she's your niece." "Lucia?" "Niece, yes, but not daughter. Learn this. Not every bond is love." Those words never left Anna's mind. They remained stored away like invisible splinters. The only true embrace she ever had was from her grandfather. He saw what no one else saw. He called her my girl with eyes of courage. Even when she tried to hide her tears, he noticed. Cry, Anna. Those who hold back tears swallow pain and become sick inside. She cried, and he stood there silently holding her hand. No medicine was as effective as that gesture. Now an adult, she still had the same look in her eyes, one that mixed pain and hope. And deep in her heart, a simple desire to be treated with dignity. She didn't want luxury. She wanted respect, but the world seemed determined to prove that this was too much to ask. The back room was the only place in the house where Anna felt at home. Everything there seemed to hold memories. The smell of coffee her grandfather made early in the morning, the sound of the radio playing softly, the chair that creaked every time he sat down. "You always arrive at the right time," he would say, flashing a smile that belied his age. Anna would respond with the same affection. "And you never miss a beat when waiting for me." While the family forgot about him, Anna was the only constant face. She took care of his medications, cleaned his glasses, and gently cut his nails. Sometimes he would take her hand and say, "You're the only one who listens to me without rushing. The rest only listen when I talk about money." She laughed, but inside, her heart ached. It hurt to see that the man who had helped everyone so much was ending his days alone. It hurt to know that a grandfather's love could be more faithful than a mother's. One afternoon, as the sun streamed through the window and fell on his wrinkled face, Anna asked, "Are you afraid of dying?" He was silent for a few seconds and replied with the calmness of someone who had lived too long, "I'm afraid of leaving, and leaving you here alone. This place isn't fair to those who feel." Anna held his hand tightly, and the two remained like that for several minutes, without needing to say anything else. That day, she realized that their time was running out. The call came in the early hours of the morning. Her aunt's voice was cold, emotionless. "Your grandfather is gone." Anna dropped her cell phone on the bed and ran out into the rain. The house was silent, except for the sound of raindrops hitting the window. Her grandfather's body lay on the bed, his face serene, as if he were just sleeping. She knelt beside him, rested her face on his hand, now cold, and whispered, "You promised to wait a little longer." The tears flowed without asking permission. It wasn't just grief, it was helplessness. It was as if all meaning had disappeared from her days. Aunt Lucia entered the room, holding a handkerchief to her nose, and said in a controlled voice, "Get up, Anna. You're going to get all wet. We have a lot to organize." Anna looked at her and replied with a broken voice, "I don't want to organize anything. I just want him back." Her aunt sighed impatiently, turned her back and left. The sound of her heels echoed in the hallway, cold as the silence. During the wake, Anna remained by the coffin, not eating, not speaking. Neighbors approached, offering words that fell like wet paper. "He's in a better place." It was peaceful. But inside her, there was a cry stuck in her throat, the urge to say that it wasn't peaceful to lose the only one who made her feel true love. When everyone left, Anna was alone. She leaned her head against the coffin and whispered, "I'll take care of the house, Grandpa, even if no one thinks I can." 2 days later, the sun seemed to mock Anna's sadness. The house was full of people dressed in black, but no one seemed truly sad. The lawyer arrived with a brown envelope and a tired look. Aunt Lucia greeted him with a rehearsed smile. "Finally, we're going to settle Dad's affairs." Anna stood in the corner, holding a cup of cold coffee, feeling her heart beating in her throat. The lawyer opened the envelope. The sound of the paper was the only noise. "Mr. Antonio left instructions that the house will go to the person who was present in his last years." caring for him with love and constancy. The air grew heavy. That person is Anna. For a second, no one moved. Then her aunt's voice broke the silence like thunder. "That's ridiculous! She came here out of self-interest. She always felt sorry for herself." Anna tried to speak, but her throat closed up. The lawyer remained composed and showed the records. Appointments, prescriptions, schedules, photos, all with her name on them. Her aunt's face hardened. "This is his fault." "He always thought she was a saint," Anna replied, her eyes brimming with tears. "I'm not a saint, Auntie. I just loved him truly." And there, in the middle of that room full of expensive paintings, for the first time someone spoke the truth out loud. In the days that followed, the house became a battlefield. Her aunt sent lawyers, tried to have the will annulled, and spread malicious rumors throughout the neighborhood. "She took advantage of a sick old man," she said. Anna, tired and hurt, tried to continue working, but cried in secret in the bakery bathroom. At night, she would return to the annex, the same one where she had cared for her grandfather, and sit in the chair he used to sit in. The radio no longer worked, but she turned it on anyway, just to hear the static. It was as if that sound was the last thread connecting her to him. One night, when she opened the old drawer, she found a photo of the two of them. On the back, her grandfather had written, "Life will try to make you believe that you are small, but you are the biggest reason I stayed here until the end." She cried so hard that the paper crumpled in her hands. For a few minutes, she wanted to give up. Sell the house, run away, start from scratch. But she remembered the promise she made on the night of the funeral. "I'll take care of the house, Grandpa, even if no one thinks I can." And it was there, between tears and dust, that she decided to fight. When she entered the kitchen of the annex, she noticed that the floor creaked in a different spot. She knelt down, pushed the loose board aside, and found a wooden box. Inside was a yellowed envelope with her name on it. She opened it with trembling hands. It was a letter from her grandfather. "My girl, I know life hasn't been kind to you. I kept what I could here, not to save you, but to give you breathing room. The house can be yours, but love must be shared. Take care of it, but don't close the door. One day, perhaps those who hurt you most will knock again, and you will need the courage to open it." Along with the letter was a wad of old bills, a notebook, and the deed to the house. Sana collapsed on the floor, sobbing. Everything he did, even hiding money under the floor, was proof of his care. When the bank called to collect an old debt on the property, she took the notebook and explained the situation. The manager, moved by the notes, authorized a renegotiation, but what she didn't expect was that days later her aunt would show up at the door. Lucia wore no makeup and no heels. She looked different, dejected. "May I come in?" she asked. Anna hesitated, but remembered the letter. "You may." Her aunt looked around, moved. "I didn't come because of the house. I found out I'm sick, alone." Anna felt her chest tighten. Her grandfather's voice echoed in her mind. "One day those who hurt you will hurt you again." She took a deep breath and replied, "The house is still yours, Auntie." In a different way, the two embraced. They cried not only for the past, but for the time lost. The following days were quiet, as if the house was also taking a break. The presence of her aunt, now more fragile, changed the atmosphere of the place. She slept in the back room, and sometimes Anna heard her coughing at night, softly calling for someone who no longer existed. Anna woke up early, made coffee, set the table, and left for work. Her body ached, but her soul was calmer. It was strange. After so much time being humiliated, she felt no anger. She felt only compassion. When she returned, her aunt was almost always on the porch, looking at the horizon. One day, she said in a hoarse voice, "I used to think that being strong meant not needing anyone. Now I see that strength is having someone who can put up with us when our pride falls." Anna didn't answer. She just sat down next to her and remained silent. The two began to share small things: coffee, household chores, memories. Sometimes they fought over silly details, but there was no longer any hatred, just old wounds trying to heal. Until, on a rainy morning, the mailman left an envelope from the bank. Ina opened it, and as she read, the floor seemed to move. The debt on the house had been partially forgiven thanks to an old insurance policy taken out by her grandfather, the same one that no one knew existed. She fell to her knees in the middle of the room, crying like a child. He knew. He even left this prepared. Lucia appeared with a cup of tea in her hands and, upon seeing the paper, understood without needing an explanation. She leaned against the wall, and for the first time she cried too. Not the arrogant cry of someone who loses, but the clean cry of someone who understands too late. "Your grandfather loved me, but he chose you, because he knew I would only learn by seeing love in action," she said, her voice trembling. Ina wiped her tears and replied without anger, "He didn't choose me over you, Auntie. He chose what could heal us." At that moment the two embraced. It wasn't easy forgiveness. It was hard-won forgiveness, stitched together by loss, too. Weary hearts that finally stopped fighting each other to fight together against silence. The following months passed, with the delicacy of those who are relearning how to live. The house, once cold, was once again filled with the sound of pots and pans, the smell of coffee, and a woman's voice echoing in the hallway. The nursing student who rented the room helped with the shopping and sometimes played the guitar at night. Lucia laughed softly as she listened from the window, and Anna arranged the flowers on the balcony, finding it funny to see life there again. One afternoon, Ina found her grandfather's old notebook in a drawer. Among notes on bills and reminders, there was one last sentence written in shaky handwriting: "Those who care inherit more than walls." They inherit meaning. She closed the notebook slowly, as if closing a chapter. Then she went to the balcony where her aunt was resting. "What did he write?" asked Lucia. Anna smiled with teary eyes. "That we inherited each other. And that, incredible as it may seem, that's what he wanted from the beginning." The sun was setting behind the trees, bathing the house in gold. A light breeze blew through the hallway, swaying the curtains. For a moment, Anna smelled her grandfather's coffee and heard the old radio crackling again, as if he were still nearby, watching the two women who had finally found each other not through blood, but through understanding. That night Anna wrote on a new sheet of paper in steady handwriting, "Life is strange. First it breaks us. Then with the same hands it teaches us to mend." She placed the paper inside the wooden box where she kept her grandfather's letter and the old notebook. She closed the lid, sighed, and looked up at the ceiling, feeling the weight of gratitude. Now, when people asked her how she had gotten the house, Anna smiled and said, "I just stayed around. And sometimes that's what changes everything." Outside, the wind blew gently, making the windows creak as if to say, "Thank you." And Anna understood that, in the end, the real testament was not in the signatures or stamps, it was in the hugs that once seemed impossible. The suffering had finally turned into a seed, and in that house, where once there was only pain, something rare now flourished: peace.